Hello everyone, welcome back to Chaka Film. Breaking news, it has just been reported that Turkey has been caught supplying Nigeria Boko Haram weapon. But how true that is, I can't say to that. But please, let's watch this video. But before we do that, please, if you are new here, subscribe to my channel, share this video, like it so that we can reach more people.
An Egyptian television news program says that Turkey is clearly a terrorist state with a broad reach. It reports that Turkey is supplying weapons to the terrorist group Boko Haram in Nigeria. 10 TV host Nashat Al-Delhi reported on a leak confirming an intercepted phone call from a few years back confirming the action. He reported in part, "Today's leak confirms without a doubt that Erdogan, his state, his government, and his party are transferring weapons from Turkey to, this is a shock, to where you may ask, to Nigeria. And to whom? To the Boko Haram organization." Well, Raymond Ibrahim, a journalism fellow at the David Horowitz Freedom Center and an expert on the Middle East and Islam, joins us now with more on this. Welcome, Raymond.
Hello, Heather.
Are you surprised by this report? What's your take on it?
No, I'm not surprised. And my take on it is that the actual tape that was made that you referenced and you quoted was made apparently in 2014 or 15. And it was reported widely in certain areas in the U.S. and in the West, not so much, and not much came out of it. And the reason, I think, is because Erdogan wasn't so, didn't have his fingers so much in Islamist politics outside of his own nation. But now that we've seen, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the ISIS Islamic State caliph who was killed recently, and he was found just 3 miles from the Turkish border, which is in fact one of the last, or if not the last bastion of jihadi so-called freedom fighters of attacking the Syrian government. It's brought it up again, the fact that everyone is saying, well, look, he's supporting ISIS. So now we're remembering, and that was, I think, the point of the Egyptian show. We're bringing back to see that there's some continuity here. It's not just right next door to Syria, to Turkey, meaning Syria. He's involved with some of the absolute worst Islamic terror groups. Remember, Boko Haram, which its name loosely means Western education is forbidden, haram. Was basically doing what ISIS is notorious for years before ISIS. So the whole, head chopping, crucifying, massacres, enslaving women and children, burning people alive. Boko Haram was doing that. And one of the things that international observers have been noticing, especially increasingly, is that their armaments, their weapons, are very sophisticated. And it's even spilled into the Fulani tribesmen in Nigeria and in other parts in Africa. For example, I'm sure you know Burkina Faso, also in Western Africa. Attacks on Christians have become horrific. Just in the last few months, there have been so many killed, and always in the context of checking out if they're wearing crosses, if they can say the Islamic Creed or not, and then being butchered and so forth. And those tribesmen, the Fulani, who are essentially living almost on a primitive scale, appear with very advanced weaponry.
Well, that's really interesting, which would kind of seem to perhaps give more weight to this idea that perhaps Turkey is collaborating with Boko Haram. What would the benefit be to Turkey of collaborating with Boko Haram?
Well, there's several theories. One is Erdogan basically is an ardent Islamist, and he is supporting and behind any Islamist movement in any country. He's the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. He was allied with Qatar of Al Jazeera as his ally. And so you can see him, he's trying to help develop these Islamist groups so they can overthrow more secular states.
So welcome back. So if that is true, the government have to investigate that. But you can already know that if you watch this video of our former chief of army staff, that is General Christopher Musa, when he did this interview in Al Jazeera, was saying that it is international conspiracy, that international countries from outside Africa are sponsoring Boko Haram. So if you haven't watched that video, let me play the video so we can tie everything together.
We've seen Boko Haram regroup and regroup and regroup. What is your answer to that? That you have in some way fed the insurgents?
The problem is that I think we've talked to international community. Let's find out the funding. When they started surrendering, by the time we left, so as we speak, we have over 120,000 that have surrendered. Most of them, when you find them, they are coming with hard currencies. How did they get them? How are they funded? How did they get the training? How did they get the equipment?
What is your suspicion?
Well, maybe an international conspiracy, you don't know. Who knows? How are they be able to sustain themselves for 15 years? That is one question I think everybody should ask himself. For Nigeria to be able to hold them, and you go to Nigeria, everything seems to be working well.
You must have an idea. I mean, let's not talk about international conspiracy theories. Let's give some hard facts.
Well, I just leave it at that. I'm sure they know, and I'm sure everybody knows that these are the challenges we're facing, that needs to be addressed. So the UN need to come in to ensure that, because we need to trace the funding. How are they sustaining themselves for 15 years?
What does the UN coming in mean? What does that look like?
Track the funding. It's international flow. We don't have control over that.
Whose interest is it to see Nigeria destabilize?
Well, I don't know. You don't know. Your guess is...
Our country has to investigate that, if that is really still the truth, because as they were saying, it is an old news, but the recent buying of ISIS leader, because it was close to the border of Turkey, so this kind of bringing a remembrance to the involvement of Turkey, the country Turkey, with Boko Haram. So our country, Nigeria government has to investigate that to see if that is truth. So I rest my case. Thank you very much. Please, I beg you once again, before you go, please subscribe to my channel, share this video, like it. God bless. Bye-bye.